Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. In Job 38 and verse 1 it says, Then Yahweh answered Job out of the whirlwind. It was out of the whirlwind that Yahweh spoke to Job and answered him. And it's debated whether this was a literal whirlwind or if this was just the whirlwind of Job's circumstances. Out of the whirlwind of Job's circumstances, the Lord answered him. But whatever view you take, the idea here is that Yahweh spoke out of the chaos, whether a physical chaos or just the circumstantial chaos of Job. God was speaking from the chaos, and we find that the Lord speaks this way often. This is very similar to what we saw in Ezekiel, or what we will see in Ezekiel as we continue our readings. In Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 4, it says, Then I looked, and behold, a storm wind was coming from the north, a great cloud with fire flashing forth continually, and a bright light all around it, and in its midst something like the gleam of glowing metal in the midst of the fire. Ezekiel begins his vision, that famous vision that he receives, starts off with a storm wind. In the midst of a storm, and Ezekiel himself was in the midst of a storm of his circumstances, there being in exile and being away from Jerusalem. Even though he was a priest, he was far away from Jerusalem, far away from the temple, and he himself was in a situation that was not pleasant. And the Lord comes and reveals himself in a storm. And we find that in life that is oftentimes the case. The Lord oftentimes speaks to us in the storm, in the difficulty, in the pain. C.S. Lewis says that pain is a megaphone to speak to a deaf world. And that is definitely true, that sometimes there are messages that we need to receive, lessons that we need to learn that we would only learn through suffering, through the chaos, through the whirlwind. And it's important for us to really try to key in on what is it that the Lord is trying to teach us. Here, Yahweh speaks out of the whirlwind, answers Job out of the whirlwind to show him that he is truly in charge. He is the one who is majestic, all-powerful, the sovereign God, and that Job needed to be put in his place, and that Yahweh needed to show him that, Job, you don't have all the answers and you don't need all the answers. What you need is to trust me. And that was the message that Job needed to receive. But for us, it might be very well that that's what we need to hear, or it might be other things. But the main thing is that we are always have our ear to the ground, listening to what God is trying to show us. And when we find ourselves in those chaotic moments in life, when we find ourselves caught up in a whirlwind, when we've completely lost all control and everything seems just totally out of control, that's when we need to be looking for the Lord and saying, what can I learn from this? It might be that the Lord is trying to show me that I'm not in control. The Lord might be showing me that knowledge isn't everything. The Lord might be trying to show me how to trust and teaching me how to trust in Him. It might be that the Lord is correcting me for something that I've done wrong. It could be a lot of different things. There's no really one reason why we experience the whirlwind, but it's important for us to try to discern what the Lord is showing us. And in doing so, we can then have that whirlwind actually be beneficial to us as we walk away from it with a lesson learned. If we go through whirlwinds of life and we just try to muster up strength on our own, and we try to figure it out on our own, and we don't really trust in the Lord, and we're just kind of trying to manipulate the situation to our advantage, or trying to just muggle through, but we're not really looking up to the Lord and trusting in Him and trying to learn from Him what He's trying to teach us, then all is vain and empty. We'll be going through the whirlwind and not getting any benefit from it, at least not directly. And so we want to always be searching for what the Lord is trying to teach us in those difficult moments. It could be that He's building character in us. It might be other things, but what is the Lord really trying to do? And And even when we can't figure it out, even when we're at a loss, just trust in the Lord. Trust that God knows what he's doing. He's sovereign. He sees things that we can't see. He can see the future. He sees the whole picture of things. And we just place our trust in him. So as we read about Job's predicament here, and we read about God speaking out of the whirlwind, let's take this to heart and to trust in the Lord when we find ourselves in the whirlwind, and try to learn from him what he's trying to teach us. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do a reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.